light of intensifying global tensions, the world's attention has once again shifted toward one of the most strategically vital maritime corridors on Earth, the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow waterway is not just a regional passage, it is a lifeline of the global economy. Roughly 25% of the world's seaborne oil trade passes through it, making any disruption immediately felt across continents. In recent weeks, that disruption has become reality. Shipping flows have been restricted, oil tankers stalled, and global markets shaken. Reports indicate that millions of barrels of oil per day, normally flowing through this corridor, have been delayed or halted, sending prices upward and triggering economic anxiety, particularly in Asia. Amid this already fragile situation, a striking claim has circulated widely. China gagayahin ang Iran sa Strait of Hormuz, Isasara, and West Philippine Sea. It is a line designed to provoke alarm, and it has succeeded. But to understand whether such a scenario holds weight, it is essential to separate rhetoric from operational reality. The Strait of Hormuz has long been used by Iran as a pressure point. During periods of heightened conflict, especially involving sanctions or military confrontation, Tehran has repeatedly signaled its ability to disrupt or control traffic through the strait. In 2026, that threat escalated into partial enforcement, with Iran restricting passage and even imposing conditions on vessels, effectively demonstrating how a choke point can be used as leverage without necessarily implementing a total blockade. This distinction is critical. A complete closure of such a vital corridor is extremely difficult and politically explosive. Instead, what is often seen is functional disruption, harassment, inspections, delays, or selective enforcement that raises risk and costs. Even limited interference can trigger global consequences. Insurance premiums surge, shipping routes shift, and energy prices spike. Now, the question emerges, could China adopt a similar strategy in the West Philippine Sea? To answer this, the geography and context must be understood. Unlike the Strait of Hormuz, which is a narrow choke point, the West Philippine Sea is part of the broader South China Sea, a vast maritime region through which over $3 trillion in global trade passes annually. This alone makes a literal closure nearly impossible. However, that does not mean pressure cannot be applied. In recent years, tensions in the West Philippine Sea have intensified. Encounters between Chinese and Philippine vessels, ranging from water cannon use to aggressive maneuvering, have highlighted a pattern, not total denial of access, but targeted restriction of specific activities. Fishing operations, resupply missions, and exploration efforts have all faced increasing interference. This reflects a broader strategic approach often described as gray zone tactics. These actions fall short of open warfare, but are designed to gradually shift control and perception on the ground, or in this case, at sea. If China were to mirror Iran's Hormuz strategy, it would likely not involve blocking all international shipping. That would risk massive global backlash and economic consequences, including damage to China's own trade and energy security. Instead, a more plausible scenario would involve intensified enforcement in disputed zones, increased Coast Guard and maritime militia presence, administrative or regulatory pressure on certain vessels, selective denial of access to specific operations. In effect, this would create a localized sense of closure without formally shutting down the sea. The connection to Hormuz lies not in identical tactics, but in the underlying principle, leveraging maritime control to exert geopolitical pressure. At the same time, China's own interests complicate this narrative. As one of the world's largest energy importers, Beijing depends heavily on stable sea lanes, many of which originate in the Middle East and pass through contested waters. Any disruption in Hormuz directly affects China's supply chain, making stability, not closure, its primary economic priority. This creates a dual dynamic. China seeks open global trade routes, yet simultaneously asserts control in its immediate maritime environment. For the Philippines, the implications are immediate and tangible. Rising tensions in the Middle East can drive up oil prices, increasing fuel and transport costs domestically. Meanwhile, continued pressure in the West Philippine Sea affects fisheries, energy exploration, and national security. These parallel crises, one global, one regional, intersect in everyday life. It is also important to address the role of information. Dramatic headlines often blur the line between possibility and probability. The claim that China will close the West Philippine Sea carries emotional weight, but it simplifies a far more complex reality. The more accurate question is not whether the sea can be shut entirely, but how pressure might be applied incrementally. Key warning signs of escalation would include sudden increases in maritime deployments, new enforcement rules targeting foreign vessels, expansion of infrastructure on disputed features, escalation from harassment to more dangerous confrontations. So far, the situation reflects tension, but not total closure. Globally, the stakes remain high. The Strait of Hormuz crisis has already demonstrated how vulnerable interconnected systems can be. Energy flows, supply chains, and financial markets react almost instantly to maritime disruptions, even when those disruptions are partial. Similarly, the South China Sea represents not just a territorial dispute, but a test of international norms, particularly freedom of navigation and adherence to maritime law. In both regions, the same principle applies. Control over sea lanes translates into influence over economies. As tensions continue, the challenge for all involved is to manage pressure without triggering escalation. The cost of miscalculation, whether in Hormuz or the West Philippine Sea, would extend far beyond the immediate actors. For now, the reality is this: there is no full closure.
There is no absolute blockade, but there is a growing pattern of strategic pressure, carefully calibrated, highly visible, and increasingly consequential. And in today's interconnected world, even limited disruption at sea is enough to ripple across the globe.